So I was watching this thing on. It was a five-part miniseries on HBO Max, hosted by Lisa Ling. Each episode focuses on specific Asian American ethnicities and their history as immigrants in the United States. So there was one episode where it was about Chinese immigrants in the U.S. and their history, particularly in California, or I think more specifically the Sacramento River Valley, where she's from, where Lisa Ling is from, and their history with having ranches or farms out there, growing certain fruits. Um, and she describes, I think she was living in Sacramento, and while she was growing up, she had been the only one, if not the only, like one of a very few Asian students in school. So she mentioned feeling ashamed of feeling different and not wanting to have friends over at her house because she was afraid what they would say about the food and the smell of Chinese food and all that. And I think I had a similar experience growing up. I wouldn't say uh, I don't think I could ever say I felt ashamed of being Korean or Asian, but there are certainly the aspects of not wanting to be different or made fun of for being different. So I came over with my dad came over first in the mid '80s or late '80s, and my mom and I came over when I was 4 years old, about to turn five, and that was January 1990. And at that time, where I grew up in northern Delaware, uh, near Wilmington, Delaware, which is like 30, 40 minutes from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Um, so we grew up there, we grew up there, and at that time, where I grew up, it was a majority white community, and I went to school at a private Christian school where I was always one, the only, most years, sometimes one of two Asian students in my class. But and the rest of the kids were white. With a few years, there have been like maybe uh, one or two kids who were African American, but most years it was all white. So that's where I grew up, and I mean it's become much more diverse now, uh, but at that time there weren't very many Asian people where I grew up. But but I also went to a Korean church. So every Sunday, I was around a bunch of other Korean kids. All of them, if not, most of them went to public school. So I don't know what their experience was, but so at that time we had just come over, and I barely spoke any English, whereas my peers who were Korean grew up here or were born in the States, so they spoke English. And there was a tendency when we were little kids that whenever there was someone new from Korea, they'd call them Chinese to make fun of them. And I don't know if it's because, uh, so I do know that being that there are so few Asians, and most Asian people there that they knew of or people were aware of were Chinese or Japanese. So anytime you make a racist comment or making fun of someone, a kid who's Asian, they probably refer to them as Chinese. And so I think you kind of compartmentalize that I'm not weird, they're making fun of Chinese people, and so it must be the Chinese people who are weird. And I think I kind of developed that, or it's kind of like a self-preservation thing almost, I guess. You're not making fun of me because if you knew me, you know I wouldn't be weird, but it's the Chinese who are weird. And so I think it almost became like a barrier like to protect feeling like I'm being made fun of for being Korean. So instead, you're making fun of me because you think I'm some other Asian ethnicity. So I mean now now like as an adult, it's become like a no, culture is weird. And when you make fun of Asian people and call them Chinese, you're still just making a blanket statement about Asian people, then you're making fun of all Asian people. So I understand that as an adult, but I guess it was kind of a compartmentalization thing kind of going on there. And so, though I can't say, I don't know, like, if I ever felt being ashamed of being Asian, but I did want to, it felt, I didn't want to feel like or to be thought of as being different and weird. So in that sense, there was definitely a part where I didn't like being different, and I didn't want to bring in like Korean food for lunch for fear of being made fun of for my food. But in the same sense, I don't think I ever felt like I wanted to be white. And any assumption that anybody does, uh, I kind of looked at that negatively. So like it was kind of in between where uh, I wasn't I couldn't outright say I was ashamed of being Korean, but I also didn't want to be different. So it was kind of somewhere in the middle where like if so for example there was some other Asian person that didn't want to be white, I look at that negatively. So that was kind of my experience of being Asian American uh, growing up. And so I think when we talk about uh, white supremacy, I think that's a part of it that isn't talked about as much. So the feeling that being white is normal and is the standard, whereas everything else is weird and foreign and inferior sort of thing. So I think that's something that should be considered when we reference white supremacy.